Now, if you've been living under a rock and don't know what's going on, essentially a few months ago, Yiheng Wang broke the 2x2 world record average with a time of 7.8 seconds. And once people started watching the video, it became very clear that instead of lifting his hands and gutting his cube, he was sliding his hands across the stack on timer to grab the cube. This would essentially allow the timer to start around 0.15 seconds later than it typically would, and evidently this is cheating just because it gives him an unfair advantage. Now, when people started finding out about this, it became a huge controversy, which obviously made the WCA need to respond. And when you really think about it, there was only two different responses that the WCA should have had. The first one was to get rid of the world record and add some new policies and regulations to prevent people from sliding in the future. The second decision, which would be much less popular, would be to keep the world record and now just allow everyone to slide. And so from there, the decision's clear, right? Just get rid of the sliding. However, getting rid of sliding is a lot more complicated than you think. Sliding as a technique is really hard to pick up on, especially if you are a newer cuber. And so let's say that you have a judge who this is their first competition and this is their first time judging. They are not going to know whether or not you're sliding. And so then you might have the question, well, why don't we take a look at the video and watch it back? Well, at the time, there was a regulation where you couldn't use frame-by-frame analysis to assess the legitimacy of solves. And so from there, you might think, okay, let's just have experienced cubers judge world-class solvers and also get rid of that regulation so that we could use frame-by-frame analysis if someone does get a world record. Well, then the issue becomes, if you're a world record solver and you want to slide, you just don't record your solves. Because then if your judge doesn't notice and you don't have a video, you can essentially get away with it. Then the solution becomes, why don't we just have GoPros at each table so that we can watch each solve afterwards. It becomes very complicated and there's a lot of budgetary concerns associated with that. And so that's why, even though it is the less popular decision, it does make a level of sense just allowing sliding in general and keeping the world record. Now, as I'm sure you can tell from the title of this video, the WCA did not end up choosing a side. They basically just said, let's just keep this world record, however, let's prevent sliding in the future by allowing frame-by-frame analysis. There's still a loophole where you can just not record your solves and get away with anything, and more importantly, they kept the world record while still saying that sliding was illegal. This essentially creates so many more problems because you're basically saying, for this one solve that's the world record, we can allow cheating, but you can't cheat in the future. It basically makes the world record impossible to break without cheating. The thing that makes it even worse is that the WCA took over 3 months to make the decision. Now, if over those 3 months they were able to, make this like huge framework and system that would allow sliding to be completely eliminated from happening in competitions, and they were able to come up with this like huge comprehensive system that was, foolproof checked and everything, people wouldn't really be that mad. It's the fact that it took 3 months to come up with a solution that just created more problems. The thing is, the WCA doesn't want to make people mad. They don't want to create a bunch of problems within the community. And they probably thought that making this weird little middle ground was going to make everyone happy, Maybe some people would be mad that the world record was going to get taken away, and so they wanted to please those people. But they also wanted to please people who thought that sliding was an issue, so they made sure that they would get rid of sliding in the future. But they ended up just going with this weird middle ground that just makes everyone mad. And so it's absolutely ridiculous how they're able to come up with this as a solution. And what a lot of people are urging for is for the WCA to actually make a decision on this. Once again, if preventing sliding was way too complicated of an issue and there's way too many loopholes that would just allow sliding to happen anyways, then just keeping the world record and allowing sliding, while it might not be the most popular solution, it would at least be a solution. And on the contrary, if you wanted to actually prevent sliding, it may be very complicated, but there still is a solution. And so in short, WCA, if you're watching this, please just come up with a solution instead of coming up with a response that ends up making more problems. Now, something else I wanted to talk about that's really important is that while there is a lot of controversy going on within this world record, this should be directed towards the WCA and not Yiheng Wang. Because yes, while he did use sliding to make his cells slightly faster, he's also 10 years old. Like, do you really think a 10-year-old would consciously think, oh yeah, you know what, this is not allowed in the WCA, but I'm still going to use it anyway so I can get an unfair advantage of my cells and make the playing field super unfair for everyone else? Do you really think a 10-year-old's going to be thinking of that? Absolutely not. Like, at 10 years old, your entire moral compass just comes from your parents, and I'm sure their parents were probably thinking, oh, this is cool, this is, a good technique that he could use. And so if he was able to practice this new technique and his parents thought that it was a good idea, he probably thought it was a good idea as well. And so once again, the responsibility for this whole controversy and this whole issue should go towards the WCA, not Yiheng. At the end of the day, the people at the WCA are adults. They should have been able to figure this whole thing out within a 2-hour meeting. And for this whole controversy, they should be able to take the responsibility, not Yiheng Wang. And so that's basically my take. If you want to petition against this world record, there's a link in the description below that you can sign. That's all for this video, and once again, WCA, please make a decision.